Okay, so we're starting by downloading parser.xlsm. I think I have it open. Here it is, parser.xlsm. And let's take a look. For the first, we've never done anything with, I forgot to turn my phone off. Who's calling now? I get these calls all the time from people I don't know. And when I answer, I answer. Are you there? Hello? Yeah, it's like that. Like, someone's calling me from Baton Rouge. I would ignore them all, except I think maybe one of my students is from Baton Rouge. And they're desperately trying to get, probably not during class. I probably could have figured that one out. Not during class. Okay. Does that happen to you too? Call from, I get 2 or 3 a day, from someone you don't know, and there's no one there when you answer. Am I unusual, or is that?
No, that happens to me all the time.
Yep, that happens.
Do you know what's going on there?
Scams.
Some kind of scam, I'm sure. Okay. Folks, we have not yet talked about a class module. We're not going to learn how to make class modules in this class. They're not too hard. But a class module, essentially, is the definition of an object that's written in VBA. So far, all the objects that we've used have been either part of Excel, or they've been something that we've added a reference to. We came to tools, references, and we found the definition of some object out here that we could say, that's the definition of an object that I want to be able to use. I want to make one of those things and use it. Well, a class module is just the definition of an object that's built in VBA. It looks just like a normal module, except it's got something called properties that are just like, they're kind of like methods, or like sub-procedures that behave in a specific way. But anyway, it's functionality built to do certain things. And so when we open this parser.xlsm file, it's a blank workbook, except it already has a class module built into it. That's all it is. We'll see how to use this then later. Okay, so the idea today is to spend a little more time working with automating Internet Explorer. And that parser object is just some tools that I've written that kind of help working with HTML pages. So I'm trying to think about that. Example I used to use to do this part of the class was Naxos.com, which is like the world's premier site on classical music. You want to buy classical music, that's the place that you go. They got it all. But the site's getting kind of slow over the years, and so today I'm going to try to use a new one. Hopefully it goes well. I'm going to use news.byu.edu. ews.byu.edu. And hopefully that's a little faster. So here's the idea. And this is a pretty common task to have to do in the world of getting, automatically pulling data from the internet. So here's the top 8 news stories. National experts take on campus climate survey on sexual assault. This is a great one. You want safe travels? Find free ways with these features. I don't care where I'm going as long as it's safe. You want to go visit grandma? No, the road's not safe enough. You choose one that's got a center median and a wide shoulder. Okay. So there are 8 blocks of information that we're going to want to pull off this. Let's suppose we're trying to get a link to the picture, the text here, and then a link to the article. We want to get those 3 things and load them into Excel, not just for these 8 articles, but for the next 8 articles and the next 8 articles. We've got a recurring pattern across multiple pages, and we want to just pull that data. We want to keep pulling that data until we run out of data or we run out of time. One of the two. In fact, I'm not sure how far it will go. And so it just loaded the next 8. And so that's the task for today. Questions? Okay, so the first thing that I'm kind of going to be interested in is I'm going to think, this is going to be a little bit easier if I could have distinct pages to go to. This is a little bit strange. So here it just says news.byu.edu. I've got 8. When I click load next, it just brings 8 more onto the page, and 8 more onto the page. This page is keeping longer and longer and longer. But I noticed something here that if I hover over this, you can see, down here in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that this is a link, and the link looks a little bit different. It's news.byu.edu, front, ? Page equals 2. And so, my first question is, well, what happens if I put that in instead of just clicking that link? What if I just put that in? Front, F-R-O-N-T, ? Page equals, Let's go to page 5. And that loads another page. There's page 5. And so now I can just manipulate the URL, page 6. And that will just bring me in that distinct set instead of making the page go longer and longer. The truth is, we could probably work with it getting longer and longer each time, but I think this is going to be a little bit more modular and kind of an easier way to work with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and dig in. It would probably be helpful to begin by loading in the IE tools, that module that has some tools built into it. So I'll say File, Import File. And remember, we downloaded this last time we were together. There should be mod IEtools.bas. And that's just some tools that, again, they're just procedures that I've written to be able to help work with Internet Explorer go a little bit easier. Allow us to find tags a little bit easier than we need to. Allow us to pause and wait for the page to load without having to think about it too much. And we'll insert a new module for us to work with. So insert module. And we'll make a sub, get the news. Oh, I'll put a little note here. It's going to be a little bit easier for us if we remember to add a reference. To the Internet Tools object. Is that what it's called? Microsoft Internet Tools object. So that's tools, references. Go find Microsoft Internet Tools. Microsoft, oh, it's Internet Controls. And now we can dim IE as Internet Explorer. Now, if I've got an Internet Explorer open, I'd like to attach to it. So let's try this. If attach IE, then else, actually, if we can't attach. Remember what attach is one of those tools that's inside of mod IE tools. It just tries to hook up to the most recently opened Internet Explorer object rather than opening a new one each time. So if we can attach to it, great. If we can't attach to it, then we're going to do two things. Set IE equal to a new Internet Explorer, and we will make it visible. IE.visible equals true. So at this point, we know that we've got an Internet Explorer open and available. Unless the most recently opened one happens to be invisible, we should be able to see it too. If we want to be absolutely sure that it was visible, we could put the IE visible outside. That way, even if for some strange reason the one I hooked up to was invisible, now we'll make it visible. How do we navigate to a particular page? Remember what the method is? IE dot navigate to. And we're going to navigate to news.byu.edu front question mark page equals And then why don't we go ahead and concatenate on a page number variable. So instead of just navigating to page 1 or page 6 or whatever, we'll create a variable dim page no as an integer. I don't know how many pages we're going to get, but it might be more than 256. If it's more than 32,768, I'm going to run out. I'm going to be tired before then, so I'm not too worried about that. Somehow we better set an initial value for that. Page no equals 1. Okay, so you're following what we're doing. Okay, we're declaring a variable, we're setting it to 1, and we're using that to figure out where we're going to navigate. Ultimately, at some point, we'll have to put a loop in here. So we're just getting ready for that. I'm not sure what that loop's going to look like. Feeling pretty ready for it. So what I'd like to do now is just make sure that we can run this and that we're getting an Internet Explorer open to that front page of the BYU Oh, and I need to say, what do I need to say? It was too fast. What's wrong? Wait for IE. And it maybe not a bad idea to close the browser, but since we're not actually opening it, it's just one that's already there, I'm not going to worry about quitting it. Because this is going to open up lots and lots and lots of browsers. So hopefully we're on page 1. There we are, page 1. We should have the traffic safety. Oh, this doesn't look like page 1. Maybe it's page 0. Aha! First one's page 0. So it doesn't really matter which one. So yeah, but let's go ahead and get to page 0. So I'll put that on page number 0, and then we'll go there. Who said page 0? Over here. Someone said it.
But I didn't put page number equal to 1. I just left it.
Oh, we went and got there. Yeah, that's good. Took me. You got there before I did, thinking, why are we not on page 1? Because there's a page 0. Oh, you're getting good at this game. Okay. So now, so what we learned on Monday, we have access to the, oh, I want to make sure we're getting here. So anyone having trouble getting here? You've got a TA or 2, ETA. Let's go ahead and pause and we'll make sure that we're all getting. The biggest trouble we had was folks didn't have the internet control to edit, so let's just see the path for that. It's tools, references.
Do we need to add those every time?
The question is, do we need to add those every time? And the answer is, when you make a new workbook, if you want to use them, you've got to add the reference. When you add the reference, you're adding it to the workbook, not to your instance of Excel. But if this workbook goes to someone else's computer, the reference is already there. It will follow the workbook. And then it's Microsoft Internet Controls. Okay, so now the way that we talked about this on Monday was we have access to the document model. We can kind of navigate tags. We can go tag by tag by tag and somehow find the tag and work with the inner text of that tag. But sometimes it's easier just to work with the text of this as if it's a text file. And that's what the parser tools are built for. They're actually meant for working with HTML text to be able to identify and iterate across repetitive patterns of text on a page. And so, let's go ahead and declare a new parser. So, dim, I'll just call it P1 as a new parser. So that parser object has several properties that are going to be interesting to us. Let's start off first with the one called text. So I'll say p1.text equals, and now I just want to get the body of the document that I'm looking at in Internet Explorer. So ie.document.body. This is a reference to the body tag. It's the whole tag. I don't want the tag object. I want just the text from inside the body. Or I can take it outside the body, either one. So it'll be dot either inner or outer HTML. Let me go ahead and do outer HTML. Inner HTML and outer HTML is the same, except outer HTML's got the tag that goes with it as well. Inner HTML is just without the tag. So body/body should be included because I'm using outer HTML. Okay, so now I've read the outer HTML from the Internet Explorer object, and I've put it into the text property of the parser. Did we have to add a reference to the parser, like we did to add a reference to Internet Explorer? No, we didn't. Why not? They're both objects, right? I'm using IE as Internet Explorer, I'm using P1 as parser. Why don't I have to add a reference to the parser object? Because it's defined inside the class module here. The reference says, this thing could be defined somewhere else. But I don't have to make a reference to it if the code is inside this project. And so that's why I don't have to make reference to the parser object. Okay, so now I'm just going to come up here to my media window. You don't need to do this with me, just you'll be able to see it here. I can now say P1 p1.text, print p1.text, and it is printing for me all of the HTML that's inside the body. If I get to the very, it's probably more lines than I can use to actually see here, because I only get 200 lines in the immediate window. At the very end of this should be a /body tag, because I asked for the outer HTML. So it starts with body, ends with /body. This is everything that's being displayed inside the document. What do I have besides a body in an HTML document? There's one other part of it. There's a body and there's a heading, a head. And so there's all kinds of information that might be interesting inside the head. There's usually some style information in the head, maybe some scripts, some metadata about how to process this. But in terms of the document itself, it's all inside the body, so that'll be fine. And it's actually a little bit easier to get to the body than it is to get to the whole text. So we'll just do the body. Now, fortunately, well, I would say fortunately, I wrote it, so I don't know if it's fortunate. It's not like a coincidence. I wrote it to do this. There's a method called save page. Save file. What is it? p1 dot. I thought there was one called save something.
So unfortunate.
Unfortunately, rude. This is so rude. Funny thing is, just before class, I thought I should download that and make sure it's there. And I thought I downloaded it, and I thought it was there. Huh. That's all right. Yeah, that is unfortunate, because we'd like to have a very convenient way to look at the text here. You know what? I probably wrote it in class last time. Let's write it in class. So let's go ahead and take a look at the parser. I'm going to come to the very end. There's sub-procedures written here that do various things. I'm going to come to the very end. Let's go ahead and stop our code. We won't be able to modify this without stopping the code. And we're going to add a new method onto the class. So method can either be a sub-procedure or a function procedure. Only difference is some methods return values, some don't. This is not going to return a value. And I'm just going to call this save file. Save file. That's all. Maybe I'll call it save page. Maybe I'll call it save text. So save text. This is just going to save the text of the file that I've got in the parser, that I've got in the text. And so saving a file, actually we're going to work with files later, like next week. But here's a little preview. Open, and we need some file name. Let's just infer the file name from where the workbook is saved. This workbook .path concatenated with a slash. Actually, let's concatenate with application.path separator. This code actually might work on the Mac. I'm not sure, but at least this way it'll get the right path separator depending on the operating system. And then let's just call it text.txt. That's a very thoughtful name. We're going to open that for output. As number 1. Then we will close number 1. And then in the middle, we're going to tell it what text we want to be in that file. So we will say print number 1. That's what file we're printing to. And then we want to print text. So this object has a property called, let's make sure that's the local variable. It's actually called the HTML. You don't have to understand this, but realize that we're working with a property called text. And when we put a value into that, it goes into a variable called the HTML. So that's what I want to write out. So I'm going to write out a local variable called the HTML. And if we look at the very top of this module, you'll see it's a global variable. It's a module level variable. But that should be whatever text we have sitting in the text property of the parser. So now we've just added a new method that will write whatever the text is out to a file, and that will be helpful for us to be able to actually see the HTML that we're working with. Wonderful. So let's go run our code again. We'll go back to get the news, and now after we put the HTML from the Internet Explorer into the parser, I can now say p1.saveText. And it will create a file called text.txt. It should attach on, it should refresh that page. So now it should have generated that file. That file should be there wherever this path is, where this workbook is located. And I think, I don't remember where it is. For me, it's in my downloads. So now, and you probably will want to do this. So if you've run that, we want to go and open that file. So I'm just going to go to where the folder where my workbook is, downloads. There it is, text.txt. So I'll open that with whatever editor I have. If I have something besides Notepad, that will be helpful, because Notepad is like the worst text editor ever invented. But you could get by with Notepad as well. So what this file, text.txt, has then has all of the body of that document that we're looking at. So what we did with the code was we said, go to this page. Go to this page. Once it was loaded, we took the body from the Internet Explorer's document, we put it in the text property, and then we just saved the text. So that's all it is. It's just the full text of that tag. No, we want that. So this is what that parser is looking at. How many of you look at this and think, oh my gosh, this is horrid? Yeah, it's horrid. But you're in luck. I'm going to help you make it a little less horrid. It's really not too bad. So let's think about how are we going to find, what we have to do, let's back up one little, let's back up conceptually. How does this page come into existence? Does BYU hire a bunch of undergraduate students to type HTML, and when we get a new page, we write some new HTML documents? That's not what happens. How does this page get generated? Automatically what?
Somebody submits, this is the title, this is the body.
Sure, yeah, there's some process that some news person goes through and says, I'm now submitting a story to BYU News. And it's probably a web page they enter it to. So they put this into a web page, and it goes into some server, receives it, and then it gets written to a database. So somewhere in the world of BYU, there's a database with all this data in it. And now we want to be able to get that data through the web, and so they've created a script out here called front. It's out here on this location. And when we say page 0, it makes a request to the database, and it's got a loop that says, okay, I've got this information for this part, put the HTML out there, and then go to the next record, put the HTML. So what that means is that the text that surrounds and gives structure to the content is going to be exactly the same every time, because it's being generated by a common script. The script that generated this block is the same one that generated this one. The only thing that's different is the data that's inside it. So if we can get familiar with the structure of the tags around this, then we can use that to get our hands around this data and to automate the process. And so to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to come to the second one. Let's come here. And I just want to find where this story is rendered in my text here. How should I find it? What should I do to find that story in this HTML file? Yeah, search for something that's unique about this one. Great, so we got Brandon Sanderson. Ooh, I don't quite like that single quote. So maybe I'll just search for Brandon. So I'll search for this, Brandon. If you're using Notepad, kind of the annoying thing is that it only searches either forwards or backwards. And when you first paste that in, you're at the very bottom. So if you just search, it won't find it. So you have to change the search to go forward. Okay, so here it is. This is one, so I've got the text wrapping here. And so here's line number 185, and it wraps several times along this screen. But here it is. So if I'm trying to get some handle, I want to find something that shows once for each story. Something that I can use to say, if I could find this part of the structure, I'm right kind of at the beginning, I found the next story. So what's something that's unique about this? What do you think it might be? Just kind of look around here and say, What might it be? When you find anything that you think this might be something that I could find, if I could move to this that's exactly the same, then I'm getting close to the data that I'm after. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not even sure I understand what I'm saying. I'm looking at this div equals inside. I don't know, but I'm going to look at that. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to search for that in here. Oh, you know what? This editor lets me count how many there are. There's 16. I don't like 16. I'm looking for something with 8. Because I've counted these stories. I know there's 8 stories here. 16 might be okay, but I like something that's a little bit. So I'm going to go this. I'll try panel call first. This looks great. It almost sounds like a nursery rhyme. I'll count those. Did it tell me? Oh yeah, there's 8 of these. Ah, that sounds pretty good. So that string right there looks like it's something that goes on somewhere before the data that I'm after, but it's going to happen for each one of my stories. So here's the link. This A tag has the link that I'm after. What did I say? I wanted to get the image, the link, and the title of the story. Where's the title of the story? You want to see it? Here's some alt. The authors.
Brandon Sanderson launches new.
Yeah, here it is. Brandon Sanderson launches new generation of BYU authors. I wasn't consulted. Yeah, that's what we're looking for right there. Okay, but so far what we've done is we've found something that will let us get close to that particular story. So let's do this. The way the parser works is you almost want to think of it as if you're working with a text editor that has a search feature, and it keeps track of where you are. So I'm going to start off by saying I want this parser to start looking at the beginning of the file, the beginning of its text. So there's a property called position, and I'm going to set that equal to 1. That says for the next activity of searching, start looking right at the very first character. And then I'm going to say p1 dot move to. And then I'm going to give it something to move to. I want to move to this thing that I found, div class panel call first. But I've got quotes inside a quote terminated string. What do I have to do? I got to put another double quote. So if I want to have a string literal that has quotes inside of it, I've got to put 2 quotes. This is a little secret code that says, oh, this is really just 1 quote inside the quotes. So I'm going to run those 2 lines, and now I'm going to ask what the position is. P1.position. It's moved it from 0. I moved it to 1. I really did set it to 1 right here. And now it's moved it to 12,074. Why? It found this, and when it found that, it updated the position property. So right now, in that parser's little text parsing brain, it says this. It said, oh, I found just what you were looking for. It found the very first one, so let's go find the first one. It found the very first one, and it set its current position indicator, the position property, to be right after that. If I was to ask for a bunch of characters right before the position, we should see these. And if I was to ask for, let's see how many characters we have here. This is column 44. If I was to ask for the 44 characters before this, we'd see that exact same thing. Let me just, you don't have to do that, just watch this. Watch this and be amazed. So I'm going to say I want to print the mid of p1.text, starting at the 12030, that's 44 less than that position, and take 44 characters. And that brought back those characters. So what's happened, right, this is what we were looking for, is that the the parser said, oh, I found that text. And it updated the position to say I'm right after that text. And so if I ask for the 44 characters before this, it'll just bring that back. If I ask for the 44 characters after it, it'll just show me what's after what it found. If I change this to where the position is, move 4, and ask for the next ones, this is the next characters that come after it. Div class inside, div class vi something. Here's what's right after it. Div class inside, div class vi. That's what we just printed off with. So far, so good? Okay. So what I'd like to do now is I would like to move to, from that location, I want to move to something that's going to get me right before that title. So if I come down here and find that title, what's that?
You're already to the next article.
Well, actually, I think I'm on the first article. No, I went to the first one. That's where we are. That's okay. So here's the title of the first article. And I'm seeing this thing, and I'm seeing class field content. That looks pretty good. That's right before.
I think just on your line above, the BYU researchers identify gene variation. One line down below that. I think that's actually
the title.
Yeah. I think that's your body there.
Oh, this is the body. Oh, right here. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. There's a field content there too. So and there's one here. So, but there's a field content followed by a tag, followed by an anchor tag. That might be something that's unique. That's getting me right up to the next thing. Nope, there's one right here. It's okay. It doesn't have to be unique as long as it's consistent. Because I could go find it twice. Intellect field content. I'm going to give this a shot and see where it takes me. So in fact, let me come up to panel first, and I'm just going to search for that from here. Find the next one. So it finds it once there. And actually, this is the link. I am after the link. And so let's go for the link first. So back in my code, I'm going to, after I've moved to that one, I'm going to move to the next one. So P1 dot move to. And I'll double up my quotes inside of it. And that will say, okay, from where I just moved to, that'll put me right here. In fact, I might just go ahead and move to, because the only it's broken here because this line's not fitting on my screen. But I might just go ahead and bring this part in because that's going to put me right in the right location. So I've added on the href equals quote. I had to put another quote, so the quote inside the quote would get recognized. And then this third quote is the termination of my string literal. So this says, move to this identifier that I've got only 8 of. It's going to get me close to this structure. And then I'm going to say, now do another move to that will move me right before the text that I want. And now I'm ready to get the URL. Let me get a variable to put it in. Okay, come to the top, I'll declare a variable, dim URL as a string. And now I will say p1.getText. GetText says, hey, just bring back some text from wherever the position is. Move to sets my position to the right place. I've now moved my position to right here, right before the URL. And now I just want to get text until I find some other identifying string. How much do I want to get? Yeah, I want to get until I find another quote. And that's the second, and that's the argument that I pass it. It's gonna pull it from wherever the current position is, and it's gonna go until it finds the sequence of characters that I'm looking for. This is weird. So string literal, so I'll put a couple of quotes in, quote, and now inside this, how do I put a quote? Another quote and another quote. This looks weird. Quote, 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 quote.
How many?
4 quotes. Right, the 2 quotes on the outside say start of a string, end of a string. And on the inside, I want to put another quote, but to put a quote, I got to put another quote. That's ugly. Let's do it this way. There's another way to do it. I could just ask for the character. Actually, I can ask for the ASCII value of a quote. It's number 34. So I could print character 34. And that's just a quote. So another way to do the same thing, it is exactly the same thing, is to get text until character number 34. Which one do you like better? Character 34? How many like character 34 better? How many like quote, 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 quote? No, I don't care. They really are exactly the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to take my current position indicator back up here to where I'm setting the position back to the very beginning, and then I'll just run it through this. It'll move to that. It'll then move up to the beginning of my link, and then it should pull that. Whoops, I need to set that equal to something. This needs to be URL equals this. So get text is going to bring data back from wherever the current position indicator is until it finds whatever string I've given it as the termination string. Yeah, I did that really quickly. You might have missed it. So I dipped URL as a string up here. I know my fingers like lightning dancing across these keys. So now I've run that. I should be able to ask what URL is, and there's the link to this particular. Now I have to know it's at BYU news.byu.edu, but then here's the rest. So maybe what I'll do in here is I'll just do a debugged upgrade. All right. So I don't want you to do this along with me. I want you to watch first. We're going to need to do some work with a loop here, but before we have a loop, I'm just going to do this loop by hand. I'm going to come up here to where I'm on position 1. I'm going to run that, and that will print off the first link. Now I'm going to come up and do everything again, but just not going back to the position. I'm not setting back. I'm leaving the position where it is. And I'm going to say, now move to the next occurrence of this, and then go to where the URL is and pull that. So I'll run that, and that should give me the next URL. That's the one that we actually started with when we were playing with it. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring it back up, not quite to where it's going back to 1, and that should get me the very next one. So do you see how this block now is ready to get cut loose and iterate? If only I can figure out a way to make it iterate. Do you see that? Oh, it's saying, all right, it's moving to the next block identifier, and then it's getting me queued up to my data, and it's pulling in the data. Here's a neat trick. Watch this. Move to does two things. Number one, it advances the position property. But it also lets you know that it was successful. How do you think it lets you know it's successful? It's going to return a Boolean value. So let me just print this. Now, because I'm doing something with return value, I've got to put quote, I've got to put parentheses around the argument list. And now it's going to tell me, hey, that was successful. It did it. It found it again. It found it again. It found it again. And then it didn't find it. It's gone through and found all 8 of those. So because this returns true and false, I can use it to control the loop. Watch this. I'm going to say do while I can move to the next value. And then a loop. Okay. So it's going to try to move to this. If it returns true, it's going to pull the data. And then it's going to try to move to the next one. If it returns true, it's going to pull it. It's going to keep looping until it doesn't move to, it can't find that anymore, and then it's going to end.
So does it become true and also go to the next?
Yeah, it does both things. It always sends back true. If we don't, if we don't do anything with the return value, it disappears. It just falls out of the program and starts rattling around inside. Have you ever noticed sometimes you shake your computer, a little rattle inside? That's what those are. Values that came back, you didn't do anything. And so, here it's the same thing. We're doing move to here, but we're not really paying attention to we're assuming that we can find it because we know the structure. It's going to repeat. So now, if I drag this all the way back up to set the position back to 1 with my loop in here, it should just spool off those 8 values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So that's one of the three things that I was after. What's the next one? Next one is like the title. And so I'm gonna guess. I know that we looked at there being a link. I think. Well, let's see. I'm gonna need a title and I'm gonna need an image. So let me declare some variables for that. Dim title as a string. Dim image as a string. So URL, title, and an image. Before I start printing, I've got the URL. Now, I think it's the same thing. I just want to move to the next occurrence of that field content. And title is going to need to equal something. I'm not quite sure what we're doing here. So let me just think about where that would be. I'm going to come back and look. So if I found this one, and now if I move to the next occurrence of class field content, that's, again, this is another link here. And so from here, to be able to get queued up right before this, what should I look for? If I've just moved myself to here, and where I want to be is here. Here's the title, right? How do I get from here to here?
Quote, greater than.
Yeah, I could look for quote greater than. Or I could probably just look for greater than. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to find, this is just a single tag right here. I don't think I'm going to find another closing tag inside this tag. And so let's just do that. I'm just going to pop another move to, right after this one, to say I want to move to the greater than symbol. And so this will get me queued up to the beginning of that href. That's going to get me to the end of it. And then I should be able to be ready to say that title equals something. Now, how do I tell when I'm done with the title? Title's here. Ah, /A. That will be the end of where the title is. You see that? Go from there to the /A. It should be gold. And now I should be able to print the URL and the title, and it should now pull off both of those. Let me give a little break in here so we can see where the one is and the other. So here's the one that's moving to get the URL, and then here's the one that is getting the title. I'm going to go ahead and drag this back up to where I'm setting the position back to 1, to start back at the beginning of the file. And I'll run this. And now I'm getting the URL, and I'm getting the title. Not too bad. Last thing I said, I'm not really sure I want to get, but let's see. First of all, questions. Should we pause here? Let's pause here. A couple of you had questions just saying, hey, my URL, the URLs are looking kind of strange. Let me see if my URLs look strange as well. Yeah, so you're getting these %E2, %80, %98. What's going on? There are some characters that are not allowed to be in a URL. And so what you're seeing is you're seeing encoded characters. I don't recognize any of those as particular. That's a hexadecimal number, but we can find out what it is. %E2, just really quickly, this will take just about less than 30 seconds. If I come to the ASCII table, we've been to the ASCII table before. And that's actually a hexadecimal number, the way it works. So I need to find in hex. Are you kidding? It doesn't have hex? It'll take longer than 30 seconds if I don't get the right one. So what was it? E2? So we got to find hex value for E2. Let's look for hex 80. Hex F Oh, these are characters that are beyond the first 100 That's why they're being encoded. So they're probably quotes or something, some kind of fancy slanty quotes. But anyway, that's normal. It's a character that's not allowed to be in a URL. It's encoded so that it can be in a URL. Okay. So the last piece of information to get here is the link to the image. Now I got to think of where that image is. Panel call last. Is that where we started?
Call first.
Said call first. So here's call. Ah, there's two columns. So I think we're gonna have to do this. We'll have to do this first. I'm looking for an image. Tag called IMG. I thought I might just see it. You see it?
2 lines above. There you go.
Ah, here it is. Image one. So that's going to be the first image inside. After I've gotten to my block identifier. So if I come to image, and then from image I move to src equals quote, that's going to give me the URL to that image. So that's the two things. I'm going to move to IMG and then source equals that. And I'm going to do that before I did the other ones. So inside my loop, to get the image, it's going to be pretty much like these. So I'm moving to IMG, and then I'm going to move to src equals, and then I'm going to say image equals get everything to the quote, because again that's going to be inside a quote as well. So again, it's kind of more of the same. Find the text that identifies it as unique, get to that point, move to where it says, I'll talk through it one more time, move to where it says image, from there find where it says source equals quote, and then get everything up until the next quote. So it's going to move to where it says image, it's going to put the current position indicator right here, then it's going to move to where it says source, right there, and then it's going to bring everything back until this quote. So that should just be the link to that image.
Is the image after the URL in the HTML?
The image is before it. And so I've brought the image block in before the other two. So it's moving to panel call first, pulling off the image, then it's moving to get the URL, then it's moving to get the title. We should be able to now plug image in here. Let me just make sure my code works. Go back up to reset to where I've got position equals 1. Run this thing again. And we should have these images. Here's one. Let's just check and make sure that's the right image. That's one of the images. Okay, so the code looks good. Who's the question?
How many quotes on source? Is that 3?
So it's source. So there's it's source equals quote. That's what I'm looking for. So I have to have another quote to make it a quote inside the quote, and then I have to have another quote to terminate. String level.
So it's 3 sets.
It's quote, quote, quote. 3 quotes. All double quotes. We have not typed. Yeah, we typed some single quotes today, but only for making comments. Inside of our quotes, they're all full strength quotes. Okay, so now, all we need to do now is make something that will let us navigate to the next page. Are we ready to do that, or need a minute more with this? So let me look, I'm going to try to look and see, what did it say at the bottom? Load next something, what was it? Load more news. So here's load more news. If load more news, if I can move to load more news that's actually in a link, I can imagine them having load more news at the bottom but being grayed out and not being a part of a link when it gets to the end, wherever that may be. I don't know where it is, never been to the end. But if I can move to load more news /A, so I know it's part of a link, I know there's another page to get. I know the page number. The page number is the next page number, whatever it is. Depending on what's going on here, I could, with a little more work, could read the page number, but this will be pretty easy. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a loop that starts right up here, right after I say page number equals 0. Let's make a loop. Do, and then right at the end of everything I've done, I'll put another loop. I'm going to tab all this in so that you can see the structure a little bit better. So now I've got a loop that says do here, and then loop at the end of this whole structure. Now I just want to try to move to, I want to try to see if the end of the page has another link to move to. So I will say if p1 dot move to load more news /A. Is that right? Yeah, load more news, and tag /A. If I can move to that, I want to keep looping. So it's if I can't. So if not move to that, then exit do. Otherwise, page number equals page number plus 1. So I'm going to increment my page number, go back to the top, get the next page, wait for it to come, move the data into the parser, parse across that page, see if I'm supposed to move to the next page, just so I get it, and so forth. Just so I'm not too abusive, if page no is greater than 3, then exit do. So I don't need this to run for weeks to get the picture. Do that kind of quickly. So here's why I put a loop around the whole thing, starting with just after I set the initial page number 0. Put a do loop around that, and then I added these lines to control the bottom. If I can't move to load more news /A, exit do. Otherwise, increment the page number, and then loop.
Can you show me where you put the top part of the...
Yeah, this is right before the navigation to that page. So let's just make sure it works. Navigating, waiting until it gets to the first page, pulls it in, it's waiting now to get to the next page, pulls it in, waiting to get to the next page, pulls it in. Of course, we could be writing this out to a worksheet or writing it out to a file or analysis. Of course, that would just keep going and keep going until it was not able to find load more news. I don't know how long it would go. It might go for, it could go back to the 1980s. It could be a long time.
So, after putting the image code in, it kind of messes with the title a little bit.
Let's take a look. So I've got, where do I have my image going? I've got my image going, the image is going last. So there's the first link. Oh, this read more. Read more GT. Yeah, you're saying this is, we've lost the title in here somewhere. So, yeah, that will take a little kind of work to figure out. I've got some stuff I've got to tell you kind of about this. It'll probably take the rest of the class time. So we can fiddle with that and see what happened. I'm not quite sure. Truth is not sure.
Throw an image, so drop the camera.
Yeah. We'll take a look. Okay. So the past 2 days, I have given you kind of a lot of power to do crazy things. Things that is surprisingly easy now to break the law. with what I've given you. The law surrounding how you're allowed to automatically interact with other people's web servers is not especially intuitive. Let's take a look. Well, it turns out that web pages or web servers are allowed to tell you where you're allowed to go and look. Let's go to Walmart.com. So in the world of internet pages, this, ooh, it's still Cyber Week. There could still be deals to get. How does Google search the web so fast? I mean, you type it in, show me whatever, and it says you're at 85 gazillion pages. We found it in half a second. How does it do that? That's where we're headed. That's not how it does it. Any idea? It doesn't actually search the internet when you tell it. It's got programs. It's got a program called Googlebot, and it is running on hundreds of thousands of computers that's crawling the web all the time. And all it does is it goes to a web page, and it says index all the words on this web page, and then find all the links on this web page. That's all it does. It says it spends its whole life doing that. It goes to the next page. It finds one of those links. It goes to that page. What are all the words on this page? What are the links on this page? Follow one of those links. What are all the words on this page? And it builds a huge database. So when you say search at Google, it searches its own database. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We are writing a program that does something pretty similar to what Googlebot does. I mean, it doesn't. It's automatically interacting with web pages to go and get data. So, kind of once this automatic interaction with web servers started to get popular, we needed some way to be able to say there should be some rules about where you're allowed to go and what you should be able to do. And that was defined in a file called robots.txt. So I go to walmart.com/robots.txt. I open that up, and it will tell you, this is where you're allowed to go. This is designed to be machine readable. I'm not going to have you write a program to parse this and figure it out. But here's the idea. So this is the site map. This is just saying, listen, you bot. This might help you understand this page. And now it says, here we're going to disallow some URLs. User agent all. That's everybody. That's you. It could say, you know what, these rules apply only to Googlebot. It would say user agent Googlebot. Here's some specific rules for you. But this says user agent all. So if you're going to somewhere that starts with walmart.com/account, you're not allowed to go there. It says don't go there. You want to go to walmart.com/checkout? Don't go there. It's telling you all the places you're disallowed.
So other limits is allowed. It's like 10 from the top.
So it says you're not allowed to go to reviews. But you can go to reviews product. So if it starts with reviews, not allowed, but reviews product, you're okay. Without this one, it would disallow everything from reviews and lower. And down here it says, crawler specific. So the user agent called AdsBot Google, that's the user agent. It says it's got some specific rules, but it doesn't really have any. For this one, media partners, yeah. So I'm not quite sure what that means. So what if you decide, you know what? Where I really want to go is customer service. That's where I really want to go. Are they going to let you go there? Is Walmart going to let you go there?
No, not signing in.
Oh no, they'll let you go. Yeah, that's why this is here. This is accessible without signing in, and this is not going to prevent you from going there. It's just saying where you're allowed to go. You get the data you're looking for. That's what happens if you go there. Now, yeah. So what's the point of all this? The point is this. Actually, do we have enough time? We've got enough time for this story. You've heard of what's the name of that place? It used to be really popular where they sold, they did auctions. eBay, yeah. Okay, that's what it is. I think it's still really popular. In the 1990s, eBay was the dominant player, but it was not sure that they were going to be the dominant player. The world was still evolving. It was the 1990s. It was a crazy time. There was another company, have you heard of them, called Bidder's Edge. Have you heard of them? That's going to tell you who won the legal argument between Bidder's Edge and eBay. In fact, there's a case. eBay versus Bidder's Edge. Here's what happened. Bidder's Edge, new company, startup, said, listen, don't go to eBay, go to Bidder's Edge. And we will let you can see everything on eBay. We're going to organize it better for you. But not only that, we're going to show you everything that's available on UBID. And we're going to show you everything that's available on every other auction site. So you come to Bidder's Edge, and we're the clearinghouse for auctions. And we're not going to, how do they make their money? Advertisement, promotions, I don't know. But they're not charging you, they're not charging eBay, they're not charging you. Bidder's Edge. If you're eBay, what do you think? Good idea or bad idea? Why? Well, but remember, what they're going to do is they're going to, you see something you like at eBay, they're just going to send you to eBay to go and buy it. And think about this, Bidder's Edge is going to crawl the data, and they're going to help take the load off your server, because now a bunch of people are going to their servers. They're going to help handling your traffic. This might be pretty good. What's coming?
They're going to see everybody at the same time, though. So they're
Yes,
going to other sites.
they're going to see everyone else. So how does eBay make their money?
People go to their site, buy from directly from them.
Yeah, but how do they make their money? Yeah, there's a fee on it. There's a listing fee. You sell the thing, you're the seller, I'm taking a certain percent of it. And if I control the market, then I can really leverage, I can move that percent up without people leaving. But if most people are going to Bidder's Edge, I move that up, my listers go somewhere else, I got to control the market. And so this is a really, so eBay realized we can't have this. And so what do? You see all this traffic, they're getting hundreds of thousands of hits a day. It's no human doing this. You go, aha, they're coming from this one IP address. Like, well, quit that, we're not going to respond to that IP address. So what does Bidder's Edge do? They change their IP address. They even make it so where they can change their IP address really quickly. What does eBay do? Oh, they try it. They do this technological thing back and forth to try to get Bidder's Edge to quit doing it. Bidder's Edge modifies, they adapt. It's like the board, right? It's like this will just adapt to whatever you're doing, and we'll come after it. So what does eBay finally do? They sue them. They sued them in California, the 9th District Court, the 9th Circuit Court, I don't know. Some court in California.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it circuit or court or district?
Oh, there's both.
Yeah, anyway, one of those.
Circuit.
And they said, we're suing you. You're breaking the law in 3 ways. Number 1, you're violating our copyright. It's our data. You're taking it without our permission. Number 2, you are in breach of contract. We have terms of service agreement, and you are not following it. And number 3, not only that, you are trespassing on our servers. Judge White, the judge that gets it, he looks at this and goes, copyright, no. Sorry, these are facts. eBay, you created some facts in the world. You made facts, but they're facts. And you don't own, no one owns facts. This is in the early 90s, Supreme Court case, Spice versus Rural Telephone. You want to make another phone book, you copy the old phone numbers out of the old phone book, change the font, make your own, not a violation of copyright. It's a fact. No one owns facts. So he says, not a violation of copyright. Number 2, what do they say? You're in breach of contract. And he says, you know what? That whole thing, that terms of service, there's, it's not a contract. In Virginia, it might have been a valid contract, but in California, this is not a valid contract. Why not? Can I take business law still in this school? Yeah. Why isn't a terms of, it says right there in terms of service, by using our site, you agree to be bound by these terms. What is it? Yeah, so the legal term is there's no manifest dissent. We don't have any reason to really believe that you have read them or that you have done anything to, so there's no manifest dissent. It's not a violation of copyright. Not a violation, it's not a breach of contract. But he gets to this third one, trespassing. Interesting. You might be trespassing. Not trespassing on real property, but there's an ancient legal doctrine called trespass to chattel. You know what a chattel is?
It's like something you own.
Yeah, it's movable, ownable property. Computer's a chattel, the mouse is a chattel, the notebook's a property. The glasses are chattel. Cattle are chattel. And it turns out you can trespass on chattel. Here's what you have to do to trespass on chattel. Number 1, you have to have contact. You got to touch the chattel. It doesn't matter how long I look at this computer, it's not trespassing if I don't touch it. And so, first step, I got to contact it. There's been contact now. Have I trespassed on the chattel?
Yes.
The second thing for trespass to chattel is you have to be dispossessed of the chattel because of the contact. Is this contact preventing him from using the computer in the way he wants to use it? If it's not, yeah, if he wants to close it, I'm preventing him from closing it, yes. But if not, then it's not trespassing. So those 2 things. And so Judge White looked at this and he said, let's see, what happens when we're making a request? This computer somehow bumps an electron. This is before the days of wireless so much. Bumps an electron, and that bumps an electron, that bumps an electron, bumps a bunch of electrons. And ultimately, an electron bumps into the the network card on the server. He said, that might satisfy the requirement for contact. He says, I'm not sure. He said, it might. What's the second requirement? Dispossession. What happens because of that contact? Well, that causes the server to do something, and now the processing of that server now is unavailable for something else because of that contact. That could be dispossession. And so Judge White goes, yeah, we've got to figure this out. I don't know the answer to this. These are real legal questions. And it's an injunction to bidder's edge. You've got to stop. How do we figure this out? What happened to bidder's edge? They dried up and blew away. After that injunction, and what comes out, here's the third thing. The argument is, well, yes, yeah, there's contact, but what if you said, what if Dan said to me, Professor John, you can contact my chattel anytime you want. So if he's invited me to have contact with his chattel, it's not trespass. The very fact that you have plugged your computer into a public network makes me think you've invited contact. Unless you revoke the contact. How do you revoke contact? How do you revoke the invitation? This is how you revoke an invitation. An implied invitation to contact based on being connected to a public server. So, if you ignore this, you are trespassing on someone else's server. What are you liable for? Legal term. What's the term? You've trespassed. What are you liable for? What's the word? Damages. You're liable for damages. What has been the cost? What's the loss to the person who owns the server that you trespassed on? A financial number for the loss they experienced because of your trespass. How much does it cost for them to serve your request? That's the damage you're liable for. How much is it? If you hit that server hard all day, every day, 17 cents a week or something. I mean, it's some incredibly small number. The damages are tiny. They're tiny. And so, as long as you don't do something that's abusive, yeah, they could sue you. And you'd be liable for damages, which would be small. But what else could they do if you're doing this? They could enjoin you, right? They could say, you'll find out who it is. It could be BYU. You might enjoin BYU because BYU is sending all these requests. They could say, hey, BYU, we're not going to sue you because it's only 17 cents, and the legal fees are way more than that. But we're going to get a court order that tells you to stop. And when that happens, if you violate that court order, that's a different game altogether. And so that's kind of the legal groundwork behind this. The general rule is, don't be abusive. If you're abusive, but realize what you're doing really is trespassing. All right. Thanks for coming. Class dismissed.